Hey guys, I have another Datto's disclosure for you today. Today I want to talk about Diablo 3, Borderlands 2, and how they relate to Destiny within the dungeon crawler, action RPG, loot grind genre of games, and why I think Bungie has learned a lesson from these games. We'll start with Borderlands 2. I liked Borderlands at first, but I will say that I haven't gone back to it in quite some time. In fact, the only reason I've played it recently is to get B-roll for this video. Borderlands 2 got stale for me because it just got really repetitive. If you bump up the difficulty, everything just turns into a bullet sponge, things take longer to kill. I realize I'm probably not doing this game justice because it's definitely more of a good game than a bad game, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm crapping on Borderlands 2 because it is a good game. I'm just saying that for me, it got a little stale, and I think it's a lot slower paced than Diablo 3. Borderlands is part of the dungeon crawler genre. It's all about the loot grind, and if you don't really care about something like that, then you're probably not going to have the best time with the game. But for me, the loot grind stopped being fun. Sure, there's the frustration of not having an item you want drop after the 20th time that you've killed a boss, but I accept that as part of the genre. It would be boring if the best loot dropped the first time you killed a boss. Although I will say that there are some people who like knowing and some people who don't like knowing where certain loot is going to drop. If it's always random, you'll almost always be surprised when something new drops. If it's controlled or locked to a specific boss, you can focus your efforts on getting something that you specifically want. Borderlands 1 has random legendaries, Borderlands 2 has controlled legendaries. Personally, I like being surprised. However, I'm talking about the actual fun someone gets while trying to grind for said items. Borderlands 2 loot grind stopped being fun for me because I either had ridiculously good weapons and armor and insta-gibbed everything, making the quest for new loot feel pointless, or things were just too bullet spongy and trying to snipe one enemy in the head 25 times in a row to kill it wasn't really my thing. If I ever reach the former in any game, I stop, like I did in Borderlands, and if it ever reaches the latter, I stop, like I did with Diablo 3 2 months after release, although that issue was slightly different than the Borderlands issue. Another reason why it stopped being fun was the variety of gameplay, or lack thereof. Each class only gets one ability. Someone like the Siren gets a lot more variety with their ability compared to, say, the Commando. My Siren could have her ability be a mind control, crowd control, resurrection for a teammate, damage dealer. There's a lot of variety. The Commando's ability is a turret, and it can be slightly modified in that it'll shoot rockets instead of bullets, or you can have two of them, but it's definitely not as unique as the Siren. Once you've used your ability, it's right back to shooting, and if you're not getting headshots, things die incredibly slowly, especially on Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. It just gets boring, and that's a big problem. And if you have a talent build that doesn't primarily feature your skill, all the classes feel really similar and can be played the same way, although I don't have any experience with the two DLC classes. Sometimes you need to pigeonhole yourself into a specific gun as well, because only certain classes get bonuses to certain weapons. That's why I never made a second character personally. The one skill just wasn't enough for me to level a new character. The gameplay wouldn't have changed that much for me. So now we'll move over to Diablo 3. I know that an action RPG and a shooter are completely different games, but they are both dungeon crawlers or loot grinders, and they both can be compared in terms of fun levels. And right now, to me, Diablo 3's loot grind is more fun because I have a wider variety of skills and builds to play with. The gear I get can influence my playstyle more than Borderlands 2 could. I played a Siren in Borderlands 1 and 2, and in Borderlands 1, I was pretty much limited to submachine guns because that's what my talents were capable of buffing. If I wanted to use anything else, it wouldn't be as effective as a submachine gun. That wasn't so much the case with the Siren in Borderlands 2, but if I get a new gun on my Siren, my build doesn't really change at all. If I get a piece of gear in Diablo 3 that raises my fire damage, I can change my build around to change my skills to incorporate those fire damage bonuses. Passive bonuses can make my barbarian a tank or a glass cannon. I can be a crowd control machine for my friends if I want. Or I can do something really weird like dash nonstop through enemies. The fact that I have so many abilities to choose from keeps the game fresher than Borderlands 2, and in my opinion has more of a fun factor in terms of dungeon crawling. I've changed my build many times in the past few days in Diablo 3, and the only time I really remember changing my build in Borderlands 2 was when I turned myself into a healer for a co-op game. So where does Destiny come in with all this? Destiny does have multiple specs or focus to choose from. It is alleviating one of the issues I had with Borderlands, although I know with Borderlands you could adjust your skill to do something different, but not without heavy investment. What I'd personally like to see are different focus having multiple super abilities to choose from. This way it'll keep the game from turning into Borderlands 2. The fact that weapon talents are built into the guns themselves is really good for the game as well. If we do end up having something like talent trees for our abilities, and according to Game Informer's article from December 2013, we will have customization options for our skills, then a lot of the weapon skill talent bloat is removed from there, which ensures that you can level your guns and skills independently instead of having to pick one, the other, or some crappy half-half version of both. But we don't know yet how the focus system will really work in terms of distributing talent points and things of that nature, or if talent points are even a thing. My question to you is this: if you enjoy dungeon crawlers, what within the gameplay keeps you playing? If you don't enjoy dungeon crawlers, what would need to change to get you to play them? And what would need to be in Destiny in order to keep you playing those raids over and over again? That final question applies to both parties, do or don't like dungeon crawlers. Because while Destiny isn't an MMO, it has a lot of those RPG elements, and it wouldn't shock me if I was grinding raids to get the best loot in the game. I am, after all, primarily a PvE player. If you want the best guns in Destiny, I'm under the assumption right now that raids are a way to get them. And I don't think you'll be seeing the best stuff right away. We don't exactly know how getting guns from PvP will work just yet, which is why I'm not including it in the topic. I'm on Twitter. Positive ratings are appreciated. That's it. If you missed my last disclosure, it's about melee weapons being in Destiny. And if you missed Bungie's GDC lecture on character customization or want a summary, check out my thorough, sanguine, and undramatic summary of the GDC lecture. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.